Hello and welcome back to the Yellow Squared podcast. It is another beautiful Sunday morning and we're back following a third successive league win in a row, 4 wins in a row in all competitions. It's a very positive time to be a Watford fan. I'm of course joined by my brother James. Welcome back to the pod, James. How are you doing this morning?
Good morning, mate. Good morning, everybody. Yeah, I'm very good. I mean, how could you not be with the way that the team is going at the moment? It feels so nice to be able to have in these conversations, just about Watford doing well. It was this season 3 for us now. It doesn't feel like we've ever gotten to a point where we've been this optimistic about how we're doing. So yes, really nice, really good. I don't know, really good atmosphere just around everything, really. So yeah, I'm very much looking forward to getting into it today because there's quite a lot of talking points I think that we wanted to cover, not just about the game either. So yeah, this hopefully should be quite a good one, mate. How are you? You well?
I'm very well, yeah. I'm looking forward to this pod. Yesterday was an interesting game. Obviously, we got the 3 points. It wasn't as fun as the other 3 games have been, in my opinion. But you know, we've obviously shown yesterday that we can win ugly, and in previous seasons we really could not do that. So yeah, I'm very pleased we managed to get the 3 points yesterday. Very pleased we finished the weekend sitting in the automatics. Yeah, there's so many good vibes around Watford at the moment. Everything seems to be going well. So I don't want to jinx it. I'm just touching my desk. I'm touching the wood right now.
That wood touched, yeah.
Just to not jinx anything, but yeah, everything around the club seems so positive at the moment. Lots of news with transfers going on, which we'll get into in a little bit as well. Obviously, had the Scott Duxbury interview in the week, which was very interesting to listen to. So we'll talk about that as well. But yeah, Derby, 3 points, James. I think the phrase "we come, we slap, we get 3 points, we go home" is going to be thrown around quite a few times this season. Well, I'm hoping it will be.
I'm waiting for the T-shirt. I'm waiting
Yeah.
for the T-shirt. Local man is pleased.
It feels like that kind of vibe, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But yeah, should we get into? We'll start with Derby, and I think we'll get straight into the tale of the game, James.
You've got you're having a go this week, aren't you? It's your turn for tale of the game. Very excited.
It is. The first time stepping up to the plate. I've seen there's some challenging names in this Word document. But you know, pre-season, I went through, tried to, you know, I've been talking to myself in the mirror, just getting on the recordings on my own, just practicing some difficult names in the Championship this season. So hopefully, for the first real appearance of me this season, we'll nail it. But yeah, we'll get straight into tale of the game. Okay then.
Come on, mate.
Tale of the game, ladies and gentlemen. Watford welcomed newly promoted Derby County to the Vic on a wet and windy bank holiday Saturday. Tom Cleverley made one change to the starting 11 from Stoke, with Yasser Larouci coming in at left wing back to replace the injured Jeremy Ngakia, and James Morris keeping his starting spot at centre back as Ryan Porteous remained on the bench. Positive vibes and optimism around the Vic was quickly washed away as Paul Warren's Derby struck first. A well-taken strike from Ebu Adams from the edge of the area put the Rams up inside 2 minutes. Time to panic? No. The Vic roused behind the Golden Boys and Watford quickly got on top of Derby. Paul Warren immediately reminding us of his tactical prowess and putting 11 men behind the ball. Could it be a long afternoon for the Hornets? Well, Matty Pollock, without the headband, didn't get the Paul Warren memo. Channeling his inner Marco Cassetti, he dinked a sumptuous ball over the Derby defence to find one Vakun Isufbayo, who arrowed a scissor kick back across goal. 1-1, the Crow has landed. Paul Warren hit the panic button after that and decided to deploy his assistant manager to unsettle things. A touch and altercation ensued, but Mr. Eltringham was unmoved. A red card was shown to assistant manager Richie Barker. A disaster for the anti-football enthusiast, and it could have gotten much worse as Bio closed down the Rams' debutant keeper, Whittle Zetterstrom, but he couldn't finish from a tight angle. Should he have scored? Half-time 1-1. Would Watford kick on in the second half and really dominate the game? Frustratingly, no. Not really. Derby started to come into the game as Watford struggled to unlock the defence. Laroussi's return to fitness ended around the hour mark and he was replaced by Ken Sema. Around this time, Derby increased their pressure on the Watford goal with a flurry of set pieces, and goalscorer Adams probably should have done better with a header on the 6-yard box that went just over. Cleverley had seen enough. KMB was withdrawn and replaced by Kwadwo Bar. Would he inject some pace into the Watford attack? You bet. A driving run into the box 3 minutes after coming on, resulting in a dangerous cutback that Chagvatadze ran onto. His shot was deflected back into the path of the yet again immense Moussa Sissoko, who tucked the ball into the net, and the rookery erupted 2-1. Derby were then forced out to come out and attack. By man of the match, Sissoko was always there to break up the play. A lung-busting backtrack run back to nip the ball from Ozo had people on their feet, and the final minutes saw Watford forced to defend and stand firm, and the 4-time whistle was met with passionate celebrations from all those in yellow. The Hornets forced to win ugly, but close out the weekend in second, 3 wins and 3 in the league, and an unbeaten start to the season, a feat only previously achieved by a one Graham Taylor. 3 points, there we land.
Hey, very good.
Thank you.
Nailed it.
Nailed it, I feel.
I'm right back in the Vic after that.
Really takes you back, doesn't it? Yeah. And
Yeah.
some challenging names.
I thought Vidal Zetterstrom might derail you, but
I managed to pull it
Cruised
out
through it.
somewhat.
Cruised through it.
He probably wouldn't be happy with the pronunciation, but
No.
you know what? We're not perfect. But yeah, tale of the game from
I think
me.
that-
First
I think
time. Not too bad.
Not too bad, mate. Summed it up quite nicely. It was a little bit bitty, wasn't it, in parts?
A little bit,
But
yeah.
But, I think that's what we were starting to say, really. Paul Warne, and you probably can tell, listeners, that we're not a massive fan of Paul Warne. But, we're going to have to deal with these teams this season. And, they literally camped. I mean, the first half was basically just Derby in a low block, 5-5 low block, making things very difficult. And it took that Matty Pollock, dinked cross, which was superb, onto Bio to get through it. Really good, wasn't it? I think I'll ask you this question because I'd be interested to know your thoughts. Do you reckon that we would have actually gone on and won that sort of game, last season, or maybe even the season before?
I don't think so, to be honest. We kind of spoke about this a little bit before recording today. I don't think, even though in the past couple of seasons I think the quality of the squad has been better, I don't think the system would have been able to break down that block as it evidently showed, so many seasons before. Draw at home to Rotherham in that first season back in the Championship really kind of shows that, and I think we would have struggled to get a point, let alone all 3 points. I just think the nature that we're approaching these teams that we know are going to come and sit in a low block and try and sneak a goal and then close out the game. We know it's going to happen, and in a way it was kind of positive that it happened so early on, because their game plan was kind of skewed from that point onwards, because you can't sit and try and close out a game for 88 minutes. It just doesn't work. And some of the reaction from Derby fans I saw yesterday was really negative towards that style of football. And I can understand why they'd be negative, because, they came out and attacked in the second half. And from that, the first opening exchange, we were under the cosh a little bit. And it's just why would they not attack? Why would they not try and attack on the counter? Because they actually weren't too bad on the counter. but the nature of the anti-football that goes on from Paul Warne probably should be studied. I'll be honest. Um, but
It's
yeah,
just, yeah,
in a long-winded answer to your question, I don't think we would have got a win in the past couple of seasons. Potentially, we could have got a draw, purely based on the quality of the squad, though.
yeah, big time. The other, there's a couple of bits from me as well, which I'd like to talk about a little bit. James Morris stayed at centre back yesterday.
Yeah.
And again, I thought he did pretty well.
Mm.
However, I would ask you: do you think he stays there for Sheffield United, or will Cleverley stand by his sort of mantra: if you get the shirt, you keep the shirt, or will he change things up against a former Premier League, quality side in inverted commas, I guess, where you want a bit more size and a bit more sort of
Yeah.
defensive nous? What
It
do you reckon?
is a tough. It's a tough decision for Cleverley to make because I don't think James Morris has done anything wrong while he's been
No.
at centre back. He's been solid, and that's good enough for quite a few of the teams in the Championship. However, I think he might bring in Porteous for Sheffield United purely because the strength and the size of Porteous is a big factor, and playing away at somewhere like Sheffield United is more challenging for someone playing out of position, I would suggest,
Yeah.
than playing Stoke and MK Dons at home.
Mm.
It's it's a nice choice to have because Morris has come in and done remarkably well at centre back, and I think it's a much better position. He looks much more comfortable there than left back or left wing back, which is quite weird to say for somebody who
Mm.
is supposed to be a left back.
Mm.
But he's looked far more comfortable at the Championship level, playing at centre back, and it's I want to spin this back on you, to be honest, James. Do you think Porteous will come in?
Uh, oh, I didn't see that coming. You've hit me there. No, yeah, it's a really interesting one. Personally, I think he probably will,
Yeah.
but I guess Cleverley's decision will probably be based on the midweek game against Plymouth and how he decides to line up and who plays in that game.
Mm.
But how brave Cleverley wants to be. I mean, Sheffield United have started the season pretty well. To be fair, I think obviously
Yeah.
they had that 2 point deduction, so I think they should be on 5 points, not the 3 points they're on at the moment. So I think they've
Yeah.
started pretty well. But if Cleverley wants to go out there and try and play the system he wants, because I guess your argument is that James Morris allows you to play out from the back a little bit better because he's a bit more comfortable doing that with his left foot, gives you the balance. He's a bit more comfortable. His touch is a little bit better. So, question would be: is how does Cleverley want to approach Sheffield United? If he wants to go and try and implement our style of play and try and dominate the game, then he might decide to keep Morris in the lineup because of how well he's played. But if he thinks that Sheffield United are going to pose a bit more of an attacking threat, you might want to have three centre backs in there to
Yeah.
really shore it up. So I think he will probably go with Porto back in the side. But I'm happy to be stood corrected because I'll be pleasantly surprised if Morris does start.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. It really does depend on who plays midweek, doesn't it? I think
Yeah, I think so.
if Morris starts midweek, um, there's probably more of a likely chance that Porteous will be playing on Saturday.
Mm.
I wouldn't be surprised again if Porteous comes on against Plymouth. But it could be weird, couldn't it? Because it could literally be Porteous and Morris play together. So it could be
Yeah, it
interesting.
depends. Yeah, I think it really does depend on what sort of team that Cleverley wants to put out midweek.
Yeah, I'm hoping it's a relatively strong team. Because why would you not attack it? Plymouth are a bit weak at the moment.
Mm.
Still figuring out their their way with Wayne Rooney. So why would you not go for them?
Well, I
But
think the
yeah,
beauty. No, I agree with you. I think the beauty of what we're seeing at the moment is I think there's a general confidence around the squad, and
mm,
I do really believe that. I don't think it matters who actually plays
yeah,
at the moment. I think the system is working well, and I think he's managed to get a squad that wants to go out and impress.
mm,
So if he does go for dropping Chakvetadze and Kayembe, and it's Ince and Vata or Bar and Vata, or do you know what I mean? All of those players have come off or come and played minutes this season. They've looked really good.
yeah,
So if personally I'm not too bothered about what the lineup is because I'm pretty confident that whoever comes in will wants to perform. So it's a great place to be in.
yeah. And it's that's another great thing is that I'm looking at the bench now. In
Mm.
previous seasons, I'd be looking at the bench and going, "Oh, the starting 11's good, but
Yeah.
there's nothing exciting to come off the bench." Or it would just be, well, they're coming back from injury, so they're not really going to pose any great threat. Whereas now, I look at the bench and you've got Vata, Bar, Rajovic, Sema, all players that can come on and do something. Um,
Yeah.
so it's exciting. And I agree that anyone that comes in to start has got a desire, and it's a really important mindset to have
Mm.
because winning is quite often in the championship when the teams are evenly matched. It's just who wants it more and winning the individual battles. And if you've got a squad of players that are really interested and really engaged in the system and want to come in and play, it's
Yeah.
it's a great recipe for a successful championship team. So
Yeah.
it's a
And
great place to be in.
and if I can just have one more moment, please,
Yeah.
because you talk about having the desire to want to go and win. In black and white on Instagram, when you read the wording, it was the EFL put the winning goal from yesterday up, and they tagged the at World Cup and
Mm.
at French national team to
Yeah.
say World Cup winner and EFL scorer Moussa
Yeah.
Sissoko. I would just like to have a minute or two just to say just how good he has been for us so
Oh,
far this season,
unbelievable.
and
Unbelievable.
just I think it was a totally natural reaction from I think a lot of Watford fans to look at him, look at his age, and go, is he going to be there? We're going to get a similar Jake Livermore.
Mm.
Lots of influence in the dressing room, tons of experience, and his
Yeah.
decent touch, but legs maybe on the wane. Well, we got that wrong, didn't we? And
Yeah.
I think there was two things that I thought that highlighted that yesterday. Because you talk about desire, wanting to win battles. It was right after the Paul Warne, Richie Barker red card incident. It all got a bit heated at the touchline.
Mm.
Musa was right in the middle of that.
Yeah.
And then after things settled down, there was a little bit of a passage of play. And then I think it was Ryan Andrews gets the ball and he plays a ball down the channel. And Musa Sissoko, I've never seen him move that quickly, but he ran onto that ball and he was the furthest player up the pitch and his legs and his drive was just unbelievable and he did it right at the end of the game as well.
Yeah.
He really strikes me as a kind of guy that is really determined to make something happen
Mm.
with this squad this season. And it reminded me of that. Was it Michael Jordan? I took that personally, kind of moment. It was like,
Yeah.
right, I'm gonna go and win this game because
Yeah.
I'm an actual World Cup winner, and you're Paul Warne. So don't come at me,
Yeah.
type thing. I thought he was superb yesterday, and I'm absolutely loving having him back at the club because he's got a real bit of class about him, hasn't he?
Oh, yeah. It's I feel bad because he's such an upgrade to what Jake Livermore was last season. Um, he just has I hate using the word aura because it's just thrown about now.
Oh, he's a
But
literal World Cup winner.
he does have he has something about him which is so tidy and safe and mature about the way he plays. And
Yeah.
yeah, he's literally a World Cup winner playing Derby at home in the Championship.
Uh,
It almost feels wrong that he's there. He's gone from Champions League team of the season, World Cup winner, and he's kind of he's in the Championship. It just seems a a strange sentence to say Musa Sissoko scores in the Championship.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm loving having him back. He's been immense so far. I'm hoping his legs can hold up for the season.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we're looking, as we'll talk about, we're looking to bolster our midfield, and excuse me, and there's more options if he does get a bit tired, if his legs do start to go. But I've never seen him move as quickly as that before. It was genuinely like someone had wound him up and just let him run. It was immense, and he did it 2 or 3 times yesterday.
Yeah.
Particularly that track back in run when he
Oh,
literally just galloped in and took the ball off the took the ball off the attacker like it was absolutely nothing. It was genuinely
yeah.
just like just get out of here, just get out of here. I'm a World Cup winner. Just get out of here, kind of
It
moment.
says it says a lot, doesn't it, to get the Vic stood up and applauding that kind of play.
Yeah, his
But
track back and run. Yeah,
it was really that good.
yeah.
Love it, love it, love it.
So good, yeah. Okay then, James. That kind of rattles off our sort of derby chat and
Mm.
just the general feels at the moment. Should we get into guess the player?
We probably should, and you've got a lot to make up for
I
because
do.
it's 3-0 to me because
Yeah.
you absolutely piled in on week one, and then I plucked out Pantilimon from nowhere last week. So are you ready? Are
I
you
am
ready for
ready.
your first
I
guess?
really need 3 points, so
Well,
let's go for it.
let's see. Let's see how I get on. Right, clue one. Born on the 22nd of July, 1989, I moved to Watford in 2016 from a fellow Premier League rival, where I ended up making 76 appearances for the Hornets.
2016.
Hmm
1989. Okay, so they
Makes him
would
35.
be 35, yeah. I was thinking of a name there, but he is older than that. So, 76 appearances for Watford. That's quite a few, actually. That's at least 2 or 3 seasons.
Uh-huh.
Fellow Premier League club
Yep.
in 2016. I'm thinking. I'm going to have a guess
Hmm
at my initial thought. I'm praying he's a bit younger than I. No, I can't. I can't guess that. I can't guess that. That's way off.
Clock is
Um,
ticking.
I know the time's ticking. I can see the clock going. Mm, I'm gonna have to guess Eunice Cabal. I know it's not him.
That's not a bad guess, to be fair. I quite like the sound of Eunice Cabal. It's not him, though, mate. We'll
Mm,
pick this up. We'll pick up in a little bit later on. But yeah,
yeah.
no 3 points today, mate.
No 3 points. Okay, then we'll get back into some more of the wider Watford chat. As
Mm.
I feel like that's the most interesting. It's the most, I love getting involved in the wider Watford stuff. This week, James, various Watford media outlets managed to get involved with an interview with Scott Duxbury. Now,
Mm.
when I found out about the this sort of thing that was going on this season with the Watford social media, I didn't think that the second interview would be with somebody like Scott Duxbury. I thought it would really follow the grain of not this is nothing against Tom Delebashu, but I thought it would follow the grain of just various players each week, maybe some coaching staff. I didn't think literally the second one would be Scott Duxbury and the head of media, and but it came around pretty quickly. Um, do you want to get into some talking points, James? Any notable words that he spoke in that interview?
Yeah, yeah. I think there was quite a lot in there, and it's absolute credit to everybody that was part of it. I think there was From the Rookery End. I think there was Voice of the Vic, Watford Way, Hornets house and do not scratch your eyes, and apologies if there was anyone else in there. We tried to stay on top of everybody's bits and pieces, but it was all
Yeah,
brilliant. I thought some really good questions,
yeah, really
and I
good.
will come up front and say I actually thought Scott spoke really well,
Mm,
and he came across as quite genuine and honest, in my opinion.
yeah,
Um, I think the most notable thing for me, apart from inadvertently unveiling that Wes Hoot had gone, uh, which I don't know
yeah,
if that was supposed to happen, was a lot of the chat about the finances.
yeah,
Um, so effectively, I'm paraphrasing here slightly, but they spoke about the fact that Watford's major debts are now effectively cleared, and as we'd kind of you know assessed, surmised for the last sort of season or so, what
yeah,
is happening is that the major sales of people like Sarr, João Pedro, now Asprilla, some of the big money sales that we've had in the last couple of seasons have been going to clear existing debts from what effectively Scott was saying was some failed transfers and some poor business decisions that have been made in the past.
yeah.
Big signings, big wages that we kind of got ourselves into a bit of a mess. So
Mm,
I was pleasantly encouraged that last season he spoke about financial stability within a year, and he's backed that up and said that they are now financially stable. And effectively, after Yasser leaving, any transfer sales that happen now will be will have money coming in that can be reinvested back into the squad as they see fit. So it looks like the
mhm.
debts have been cleared. He was really confident about where the club is financially, which is a really good place to be. And he still thinks there's plenty of value within the squad, which is nice to hear as well.
Yeah,
And the plus side was that money that comes in now can be reinvested into the playing squad, which was great to hear. So
yeah.
I think that was the main thing for me. Was there any bits that you took out of there, mate, from the finance side of things?
Yeah. Well, it's kind of what we spoke about. So have spoken about so many times in terms of the finances. Um, we always just said if they came out and were so transparent with it and just said, look, we got it wrong. We're working to fix it. We'd be happy with that. Obviously, it's not good that it's happened, but at least they're holding themselves accountable. It's better
Mm,
than what they had done for so many years, avoiding talking to anyone, avoiding answering questions, or just speaking about Watford to anyone. Scott Duxbury and Gino and everyone seemed to just get away and leave Watford without talking about anything. But yeah, it was nice for them to come out and admit that they made mistakes. Not
mm,
obviously not nice that the mistakes were made, but it's good that they've held themselves accountable to it, and that they set the track last season to be financially stable, and they've met that, which is great. It instills some faith in me a bit
mm.
more that they're not everything they say is empty, which is really positive to have as a CEO. So it's
Yeah.
yeah, it's good. It is good, and it's not a surprise that since Asprey has gone now, that all of a sudden we've been linked with a few players, and we're looking to sign a few players as well rather than loan
Mm,
them, which
yeah.
which is great. I know it's not masses of money. We didn't think it would be masses of money, but yeah, it's no surprise we're looking now to sign players. Um, and it's interesting. I think the other thing that linked in with that, the the wage structure and overpaying for players in the past.
Yeah.
Um, Tying in with that, he said that he's actually taken a 50% wage cut, um, voluntarily as well, purely because he loves Watford and he loves the project and he wants to stay here, and
Mm,
rather than move on. And I think that's great. It's he could easily have stayed on his 900 odd thousand pounds a year, but yeah,
yeah.
taking it. I mean, it's obviously not. It's not like he's slumming it now on his
No.
£450,000 a year, but yeah, it feels like we're all pulling in the right direction now, and obviously it just happens to be great that the football on the pitch is pushing that positive energy from the fans as well.
Yeah.
But to see further up in the club that positive decisions are being made now is yeah, it's another great thing to be happy about with Watford. It all seems so positive, and yeah, I'm
Yeah.
very excited by it.
Yeah, because there was two extra bits as well. Talk about the positive factor that I picked up from what Scott was saying. The first one was, looking at the financial side of things and where the playing squad is now, and how that looks out to the future. He basically said that what we can sit in the EFL now, effectively for as long as we need to.
Yeah.
And his words were, "It's a case of when, not if, we get promoted back to the Premier League." So to me, that sounds like Watford have completely reset the business model and the financial situation, which
Yeah.
is, I mean, it's not great because it sounds like we're back to square one.
Yeah, a little bit.
But the sinking ship might have been arrested, so I thought that was good.
Mm.
But also the aim for this season, yes, there's an element of what is public versus what is private. But his aim for the season was to get the feel good factor back, and have an idea of how we're actually going to play, which I think from the opening for the opening few games of the season, that feel good factor feels like it is slowly coming back, and how we're going to play. So it feels to me like Cleverley is meeting the demands of what the owners want, which is good, and hopefully that reduces a little bit of pressure, because I think if that is your aim for the season, to just level off, bring the good atmosphere back, then you'll naturally perform well. So you'll naturally come up the table. So I think that's better than saying you must get playoffs, because I think that just leads to pressure, which is not what we wanted.
Yeah.
But the really good thing for me was that he confirmed Jefferson is going to arrive.
Yeah.
But it's effectively saying that Jefferson signed off the back of the presentation that Tom Cleverley gave to him and Bournemouth, I think it was, or him and his
Yeah.
representatives, talk about the vision and the strategy and how they want to play and what they're trying to achieve,
That's
which is
great. That
great,
is
right?
great.
That's
Really good.
perfect. That's exactly what you want to hear, and that
Mm.
that hopefully shows that there is some faith being placed in Cleverley to have those conversations, and that Cleverley is being allowed to sign the people he wants. Because and Scott also said about Wes Hoot departing, it was disappointing that Wesley wanted to go. They didn't want him to leave, but apparently Cleverley's reaction to Hoot departing was, right, who's next?
Mm.
What's the replacement? So good mindset, it
It is a
sounds,
good
from
mindset.
Cleverley.
And it's interesting, isn't it? We kind of spoke in the preview pod and off camera, kind of all summer long and all transfer window long, about has our pull gone in the transfer window and the transfer market, has our pull as a club gone, because we're no longer the big hitter in the Championship that's just come down from the Premier League, lots of cash to spend. Looking to go straight back up. We're no longer that in that category, and it worried me with the lack of movement in the window. I think it was made worse by the number, or the international tournaments slowed the market, and there's a number of other factors as well, but it seems like we're with the vision that we have now as a club with Cleverley, people are buying into it and are interested in coming to Watford now. And with the sale of Aspria confirmed now, 18 million plus 6 million in add-ons, and the sell-on clause, which is a massive thing for Watford. That sell-on. It's been no surprise that all of a sudden we're popping up when there's 3 or 4 players we're going to mention very shortly that are looking to come to Watford, and I'm pleased because it seems again like people want to come and play for Watford, whereas a season ago, like, it just seems like no one wanted to touch Watford.
It
It
just felt very murky, didn't
it
it? It
did
was,
it felt
yeah.
very it felt very off. With the serial sacking of head coaches, it didn't come across as a very attractive place to go and play football, given that you never knew who was going to be in charge come the end of the season. But it looks like they're going to be backing Cleverley, and I know they've said this before. They went, "Oh, we'll back Rob Edwards, hell or high water." and all that jazz. It feels much different. I think every Watford fan can say it's so much different to Rob Edwards. We've started the season really well. Everyone's pulling together as a group. The squad is considerably worse than when we first came down. But
On paper.
if everyone, oh yeah, on paper, but everyone pulling in the right direction, it's quite similar to Luton, isn't it? When they got promoted, on paper they had a much worse squad than we did, but everyone was buying into the system. Everyone was pulling in the right direction, and they got promoted from it. So I'm not saying we'll get promoted,
Mhm.
but it's much
No,
more
but
positive, isn't it?
yeah, but it highlights the importance of having a stable atmosphere and a plan and a vision. You can't just chuck 11 really good players on a pitch and expect them to, turn up 46 times a season. You need to have some kind of identity that you're working towards.
Yeah.
And hey, early days, but it feels like we've got that at the moment.
Yes. Yeah. All right. We'll get into some transfer news then. Um, Scott Duxbury actually mentioned about how the Watford and Udinese scouting network kind of works, and it's
Mm,
intertwined. I don't see that as a surprise. When Gianluca Nani
no.
came back in as the sporting director of both Udinese and Watford, it always just occurred to me that we'd be using the same scouts, um, and looking in the same areas for both clubs, and it's why we've had so many players come from Udinese and also had so many players go to Udinese. Um, and it kind of seems like they're quite fluid with who goes between, obviously because it's so easy. Interesting that he mentioned that's how we got Vata, because the Udinese scouts actually picked him up, which is quite weird, isn't it, given that he was playing in Scotland at the time. But I'm not
Yeah,
complaining
yeah.
because he looks absolutely class. So, maybe not this season, but seasons to come, he could
Mm.
play a massive role for Watford. Um, and yeah, there's more deals coming in now, much more.
Yep.
Obviously, we mentioned Asprey is gone, Hoot's gone, um, but given the stability of our finances now, that's exciting to me
Yeah.
because it's like, okay, now we've got money to spend. Obviously, not a lot of money, but we've got money to spend, and we're obviously looking in the right areas given our track record of finding
Yeah.
players from all over the world, and turning them into these excuse me, absolute monsters that go on to have really really great careers. Three names, James. I'll let you rattle them off.
Yeah, so I mean, the first one is Angelo Bonner, who at the time, literally as we were recording this, Adam Leventhal was broken the news that he has effectively agreed a deal. So that should be done. So
Mm,
Angelo Bonner, 36 years old, released from West Ham, centre back. Again, could be a really exciting signing. I mean,
yeah,
the age again will scare a lot of people. I think in the Championship you can get away with that
yeah,
personally. So I
yeah,
think I think he has the potential to be a really good signing for us. So that one appears to be done. The other two names, so Pierre Duomo from Antwerp, around about €1 million. He was actually seen in the Vic yesterday. So
yes, yeah.
again, I suspect that is also a done deal. I don't know. He's given me sort of Ismail Kone vibes.
Yes, yeah. The limited clips I've seen of him,
Yeah,
the
yeah,
resemblance is genuinely crazy. He's
yeah,
so tall, Duomo, but
yeah,
he looks really good on the ball. Definitely in a similar mould to Kone, and I think that's
yeah,
the sort of midfield depth we've been calling out for,
yeah.
especially with Sissoko's age. What we spoke about, maybe his legs not holding out for the whole
Mm.
season.
Yeah, big time. And then the final one is Kevin Keben from Toulouse. Am I right?
Yes, Toulouse, yeah.
Another centre back. Uh, I don't know about you. That one feels like it's gone a bit cold. Not sure about that one.
Yeah,
Because it seemed very much a done deal, and then there's been very little on it for the rest of the week. So we'll just wait out on that one. But that
yeah.
again would fit. That would fit, I think, in terms of just another centre back in the door.
Mm.
A youth prospect type thing. So those are the three names, and then
Yeah,
when you add Jebison onto that, it starts to look like quite a good window, really, doesn't it?
It does, yeah, including everyone else before that. And I think the
Mm.
important thing is that only one of those four is coming in on a loan, which is
Yeah,
another big important thing for me personally. I like having players sign for the club rather than constantly loaning people, and I think we'll see more of that now given our financial situation. Yeah, Duomo was obviously at the Vic yesterday. I think that the Kevin one is weird. It definitely he fits the mold of what Cleverley wanted: a centre
mm.
back, a striker, a midfielder. I don't know if Ogbonna's just sort of inadvertently hijacked that transfer,
Yeah,
or
I'm
whether
sure.
Ogbonna's been noted as the Hoot replacement and they want Keben as well. I watched the WD18 did a video with a fan channel from Toulouse, and they seem to think it was pretty much a done deal as well,
Yeah.
from their side of things. So but it's gone a bit cold, hasn't it? So it'd be interesting to
Mm.
see how it's going to play out, because it at one point it seemed like it was going to get announced at the end of the week. So
Yeah.
bit of a weird one. They're quite similar transfer fees, though, aren't they? About £800,000, about €1 million,
Yeah, around
for
about that,
both
yeah.
Duomo and Keben. So that's the kind of transfer fee we want to be paying, and obviously developing them and selling them on in a similar way to what we did with Kone. Obviously, we paid a little bit more for Kone, but we still managed to flip him for profit. So that's the business model that we should be looking to do, not paying over the head for players that don't perform for us, and also those wages as well, which is a crazy thing. Um,
Mm.
that there was just so many mistakes in the past, wasn't there?
Yeah.
Financially,
Yeah.
and notably that on the Ben Foster podcast a while ago, he noted that the Watford players, when they first got relegated, were all still on Premier League wages. There was no
Yeah, that was
wage cut for the
terrifying.
Championship, which is terrible.
Which
Um,
is, I think then why we paid for it the following season because we
yeah,
couldn't sign anybody. We're now in money.
yeah. Well, that's probably where majority of parachute payments went, because all of a sudden you don't have
Hmm.
the Premier League TV money, and sponsorship. It all suddenly goes, and parachute
Big
payments
mess.
are supposed to keep you afloat. But if we were paying out of the hand over fist for the
Mm.
same players that obviously didn't perform in the Premier League to stay on Premier League wages, is mental to me. I don't know why there was no wage cuts, and it was very funny to hear. It was Glenn Murray was talking about it with Ben Foster. Every fine was 10% wages, which is
Yeah.
hilarious. Which is hilarious. So that was obviously a way of trying to recoup money. Okay then, shall we get into guess a player two?
Yes, let's. So you've had clue one. So we know this person signed in 2016, made 76 appearances
Mm,
for us from a fellow Premier League rival. Are you ready for clue two?
I am, yeah. Hit me.
All right. I made 34 international appearances for my home country and won a bronze medal at the 2014 World Cup.
Hmm. I'm trying to. Who finished third at the 2014 World Cup? So Argentina and excuse me, Argentina
Hmm.
and Germany were in the final.
Hmm.
It was the Netherlands and someone else
Mm.
between in third and fourth. I think the
Yep.
Netherlands won. So
Yep.
it's a Dutch player.
Hmm.
It can't be a Dutch player. I can't think of a single Dutch player that's played 70
Oh,
times for Watford. It can't be a Dutch player. Who?
hmm
Oh, this is ridiculous. I can't think again. This is crazy. Um,
This is wonderful for me, by the
yeah,
way.
this is proper
This is all insurance.
mud.
You're gonna kick yourself here, mate, big time.
Um, oof. I'm gonna have to guess somebody like Steven Berghaus. Unsurprising
No,
that is. Yeah.
no, not Stephen Berghaus. Do you want to
Mm.
dive into clue three straight away?
We might as well get it over with.
For the 1 pointer, I only played for two teams outside my native nation of the Netherlands, Newcastle and Watford. A tricky right back, my most iconic goal
Oh,
was to put the Orns 2-1 up at home to Chelsea in Javi Gracia's first home game in charge for the club that ended 4-1. Who am I?
well, you can't see me, viewers and listeners. I do have my head in my hands. How can I forget Daryl Yanmat?
Well,
Wow.
said you get yourself big Daryl Janmat, mate.
Fair enough. 76 appearances. Fair enough.
Yeah. He was a good player.
He was a good player. Yeah. Popped up with a few goals every now and then as well.
Some big goals, and he scored. He scored great goals against Chelsea
Yeah,
somehow.
he loved a
Uh,
goal against
he
Chelsea.
loved it. He loved a driving run into the box against Chelsea for some reason. Um, yes, yes, very good. Only the 1 point for you though, mate. Which
3-1. 3-1. Yeah.
3-1. If I can get my nose in front next week, I'm in the driving seat. I
It
reckon.
it could be a long season for me for guess the
Early
player.
doors. Early doors. Yeah.
But given that
Uh,
anything I throw at you, you just sort of swat it away. I've never given. That was the worst clue I think we've done on the entirety of Guess the Player last week, and you
yeah.
just swatted it away like it was absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, fair enough. And I think we've got one more segment to go through before we end off the podcast for this week, James.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that, of course, is the Fantasy EFL. I'll be real,
Oh.
we did not have a good week.
Oh dear.
Shit, go on,
It's
James.
going.
I'll let you
It's just
I'll let you own up to something.
it's going from bad to worse for us. I'll be honest with you. I'm still trying to work out the rules of this game, and I know it's a bit bad and embarrassing to say that 3 weeks into it. But I thought I'd missed the deadline because I noticed that there was like a League Two game on Friday night, which I think was Grimsby put four past somebody, and I
Notts
panicked.
County, Grimsby. Yeah.
Not County Grimsby. I panicked and I realised that I'd missed the deadline, only to discover, this morning that there isn't a deadline. So we didn't change the team last week. So we didn't have a Derby player, and as a team, we're currently sat on 42 points, which is horrendous,
It is, yeah,
really.
really horrendous.
So I mean, the Yellow Squared team we're 13th in the league
Yeah.
out of 22. Not looking great, I
Okay.
must admit.
I'm looking at the league currently. Would you like to tell us how the Miguel Britos Tackle Academy is getting on?
Uh, Horrendous. We're set 18th. Having no luck anywhere. Can't keep a clean sheet. Every Leeds player I pick then doesn't score.
It's
Oh, it's
it's
terrible.
not gone well. It's not gone well. I followed a similar mold. I'm slowly falling away from my from my position in the top sort of 3 or 4 where I was
Yeah.
after the first game in the championship. Yeah, I'm sitting in ninth now. It's it's not gone well. I didn't have a great week. No clean sheet. I backed Dan Backman. Um,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it didn't pay off. No one did anything for me. It's not been a good week.
It's
But
horrible,
there's
isn't it?
always next week. There is always next week.
There's always next week.
But
And shout.
Feed Vatter
Yeah.
has had a great week. Josh Madger, great addition. Might have to look at him for my own
Pick.
team, to be honest. He seems to be firing so far this season. But yeah, shout out to you, H Bloomfield. Um, sitting pretty at the top.
Yeah, with the Watford way on his heels.
So close on
So
his heels.
yeah,
It's
if you want,
the top three is very very close together. If you're watching
yeah,
on YouTube, you'll be able to see how tight they are. But for the listeners, top is obviously Feedvatter on 183. Then we got the Watford Way on 180, and then sore loser, who was top last week, has
yeah,
fallen down to third on 179, and the chasing pack from fourth to everywhere else below that is really not having a good start.
yeah.
But yeah, well played to you guys up at the top. And if you haven't already, you can still join. The code is still in the description, and you can find it everywhere on our socials. So please get involved. But yeah, Feedvatter #1. Well done to you, mate. All right then, James. I think that's just about everything for this week.
Oh.
Any last minute topics you wanted to rattle off?
No, nothing from me, mate. I will be at the Vic on Tuesday night for Plymouth,
Yeah,
and then we are off to Sheffield United, aren't we?
we are indeed. I'm so buzzing for it. I am so excited. The return of the Yellow Squared Pod away days is back. It's going to be great. It's going to be so great. I'm looking forward
Yeah,
to it.
looking for. Should be a good one.
Hopefully, we get through to the next round of the Carabao Cup in midweek, and we build up a good bit of momentum to go and take on Sheffield United. It's going to be a tough game. Going to be a tough game. How are you feeling for it? Any early thoughts? A little preview?
No, no, nothing major. I think all I will say is I'm actually looking forward to it. I think we've got a team that can go and give any team at this level
Yeah.
a challenge, just with the way that we're set up at the moment. So I'm looking forward to a good away day. It's quite nice to go to a big team as a bit more of an underdog this time. We'll see if we
Yeah.
can upset.
It's interesting, isn't it? Obviously, for the times we've been going to Watford recently, it's kind of like, well, I'm enjoying going to Watford. I'm enjoying being out, going for a drink before the game, that kind of thing. It's exciting to me going to the football and
Mm.
being able to enjoy everything around the football and then actually go and enjoy the football as well, which is something we haven't been able to do for a while with Watford.
Yeah, big time.
But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. So stay tuned. The sort of match day vlogs will be back, which I'm excited for. We're going to carry on that through the season. But yeah, we'll catch you again very soon with a pod entailing both Plymouth and Sheffield next weekend. Available at all the usual times. Don't forget to follow us on all our social medias. That's all linked down below in the descriptions. And we'll catch you again very soon. Take care, guys.
Cheers, all.